The story of video game console sales really begins in 1989, when Nintendo released the original Game Boy. Handheld gaming had existed in simpler forms before, but nothing had proven it could be a genuine mass-market business the way the Game Boy did, eventually selling well over 118 million units across its lifetime and cementing Nintendo's reputation as the undisputed king of portable gaming for more than a decade to come. Sony entered the console business in December 1994 with the original PlayStation, a machine that used ordinary CDs instead of expensive game cartridges and helped legitimize video games as mainstream adult entertainment rather than just a children's toy. It went on to sell over 100 million units worldwide, an enormous success for a company's first serious attempt at the hardware business. But nothing in gaming history quite prepared the industry for what Sony did next. The PlayStation 2, released in the year 2000, combined a vast and rapidly growing game library with something no console had ever offered before: a built-in DVD player, which meant that many households bought one primarily to watch movies rather than to play games at all. That unlikely combination proved completely unstoppable. The PS2 went on to sell an almost unbelievable 160 million units over its lifetime, a record that would stand completely unchallenged for more than 2 decades, longer than most of its competitors even stayed in business. While the PS2 dominated the living room, Nintendo continued building its handheld empire with the Nintendo DS in 2004, a dual-screen device with a touchscreen and stylus that eventually sold over 154 million units, becoming the best-selling piece of Nintendo hardware ever made, at least for a while. Nintendo's Wii, released in 2006, brought simple motion controls to a mainstream audience that had never considered itself gamers at all, crossing the 100 million unit mark thanks largely to Wii Sports convincing millions of non-gamers, including plenty of grandparents, to buy a games console for the first time in their lives. Microsoft, meanwhile, built its strongest console generation yet with the Xbox 360, released in 2005, which became the company's best-selling console of all time at nearly 86 million units, thanks largely to strong online multiplayer features that Sony's rival PlayStation 3 struggled to match for years. Sony's PlayStation 4, released in 2013, kept the momentum going through the following decade, eventually crossing 117 million units sold worldwide. But it's the console that arrived in 2017 that has become the single most remarkable story in the entire history of gaming hardware. The Nintendo Switch, a hybrid device that could be both a full home console and a portable handheld, defied every prediction made about its likely longevity at launch. Instead of slowing down after a few years like almost every console before it, the Switch kept selling, year after year after year, eventually overtaking the Nintendo DS in early 2026 to become the best-selling console Nintendo has ever produced in its more than 4 decades in the industry. And it didn't stop there. As of early 2026, the Switch sits at nearly 156 million units sold, putting it within just a handful of million consoles of the PlayStation 2's supposedly untouchable 26-year-old record. Sony has already had to quietly revise the PS2's own total upward once, after discovering additional manufactured units that hadn't been counted. Whether the original Switch, or its newly released and already fast-selling successor, the Switch 2, ultimately claims the title of best-selling console of all time is still very much an open question. But for the first time since the year 2000, Sony's long-standing, seemingly permanent record finally looks genuinely within reach.